everyone, so welcome back. Still Mrs. Slauson, that's who you're going to be seeing in these videos. The page I want us to look at now, you should have printed up at home, and if you don't have a printer, you can always just write them down. It should be week 13, assignment 2. And in this video, we are putting together all our factoring. So the page I have in front of me is my factor sheet with my little cheat sheet of how to do this. And the first problem is just getting you back into the swing of things, of putting things in, factoring out a GCF. So 1 is ready to go. 2, I want you to pay attention that it's not in standard form, so it really should be written as 10n squared minus 15n plus 25. So again, you're going to find the GCF. That means you're looking for what's out here, and then as it distributes in, what you get in the parentheses to make this. The rest of them are factoring completely. So every problem I'm going to approach as looking for the GCF, and in this particular problem, after the GCF, we're going to focus on the X. So starting, I'll do one with you, and then I'm going to have you do the other 3 on your own. So when I look at this problem, I'm going to first focus on, is there a number that I can factor out or divide into 10, 12, and 16? And I always look at the smallest number, but 10 doesn't go into these. So if it's not 10, then it's going to be smaller than 10. And as it turns out, that is a 2. And these are V's. If you're more comfortable with X's, switch them to an X. I'll just keep it as a V. So that means 2 times what makes the 10? Well, that's 5, and I still have all the V's. And 2 times what makes 12? That's a positive 6, and it still has its V. And then 2 times a negative 8 makes this negative 16. So after the GCF, so if you remember in the video, we added parentheses. What's in parentheses, if there are 3 terms, is what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be making our X. So the 2 is just kind of hanging out for a while. And to make my X, I'm going to multiply those. And then this will be the bottom term. So when I look at my factors of 40, and there's a good amount of them, 10 and 4, and I am putting V's with those, get me to 40, and they get me to 6. Again, if there are subtraction signs in the top or bottom, there's a subtraction on the side. So if this is positive, that means there were more positives and fewer negatives. So now joining my GCF of 2 will become the new additional factors. And if you remember, this is what we're focusing on. I don't need these anymore. Let's go ahead and scribble this out. And putting my V's in there, and this term will make the first term. The first term here and the first term here make the first term here. So the V and V make V squared, and 5 and 1 make the 5 for V squared. So now I'm going to draw my face, top of the head and the smile. And these numbers need to make these numbers. And while 1 can make either of these, 5 can only make the 10. So what I'm going to do is have 5. And what would 5 multiply to make 10? Well, that would just be a positive 2. And that means 1 is going to have to multiply to something to make a negative. So since it's a negative 4, I'm definitely going to be the negative. And 1 times negative 4 makes the negative 4 of the V. Because again, the V is already built into it. And now you have factored this completely. There are 3 factors. There's the GCF, there's the 5V minus 4, and there's the 1V plus 2. So you should do 4, 5, and 6 the exact same way. Now when you're ready to go to the back, there's 2 more. So 7 and 8. And then 9 through 12 are going to be where you factor each completely by using the GCF and then the difference of squares. So I'll do this. Let's do 10 together. So the first thing I'm going to look at is what can I factor out? What is my GCF? And when I look at the smaller 12, 12 doesn't go into 27. So that means my number is even smaller than 12, and it is a 3. And this has an n squared, and this doesn't, so I won't take out any n's. So 3 times what makes 27? Well, that's a 9, and it still has all its n's. And 3 times what makes negative 12? Well, that's a negative 4. And so now going back to my cheat sheet, I've done the GCF, and with 2 terms, then I'm going to look for this difference of squares. So the difference of squares, here's my GCF just dropping down, And these are the parentheses for the difference of squares, if it happens, but it's going to. So I'll look, it's a difference, that's the first rule. 2 terms, that's the second rule, and each term needs to have a perfect square. So this perfect square, its square root is 3 and n, and this one is 2. So we'll put them in our parentheses, and we'll switch them up by putting a plus in one and a minus in the other. And now you have factored this completely. You have 3 factors, your GCF, here's your second factor, and here's your third factor. So that's your getting help for week 13, even though it's not in week 13. Never pay attention to the week because you guys are on a slightly different pace than the in-class students. So just if this is the assignment that's in the link, then that's what you do.